And when I saw how these detectives was able to get away for so long after it started with Anthony Holmes and then down to Marcus, it just blew me away. And I was just scared. I was disappointed. I was let down by the police department and learning that our aldermen, they have to go through them, to see how many settlements them went through. And it seemed to me, because I didn't know anything, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know who God was. I didn't know nothing. So I just felt cheated and disappointed. And I just felt our kids and us, we had been sold out and it was a conspiracy, because here we are fighting for our kids, and we've been fighting all these years, and nothing happened to these officers that's supposed to serve and protect us.
Hold up right there. Stay right there, okay? And I know where I stop you at, fighting for these kids. I want to move on next to Armanda Shackelford. And I want to ask Armanda, going through all these ups and downs and dealing with Gerald's situation, to be freed from prison, what was you thinking? What gave you the strength to keep fighting?
First, I want to say good evening, everybody, and thank you all for letting me join in with you all today. This is a blessing to me to be here with all you mothers. It has been a struggle. Lord knows it has. And I had to turn my video part off because sometimes it messes with my voice part. But every time I went to court, I went through thinking that maybe today is the day that they would make a decision to close this case. Let this man go home. But then it would always be just the same. It would be another continuance. But at the same time, I made up in my mind, with the help of God, that I wasn't going to give up. Because if I give up, who've won? And they don't want enough. Keeping our sons away from us. And Bertha is the one who mentioned the word kidnap. But only thing about the kidnapping that was done to our sons, we know where they are. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the only thing that they have is injustice. They don't have no proof, and you can always tell a person that was tortured by the police. Those are the ones who no evidence was found against them at all. And that would hurt so bad to know that you are keeping our sons, not just Gerald, because Gerald wasn't in there alone. There were men that was locked up before Gerald even got there. And I wasn't any fighting that I was out there doing. It was for all of them. Gerald is home, but I'm not satisfied. I'm not pleased. I'm very disgusted with the system the way it is. The system is so broken that a prosecutor can say that this man is guilty, but we want you to take a plea deal. Now, you say I'm guilty, but why is it that you want me to take a plea deal for you? The plea deal would not be beneficial to me. it would only satisfy you. And it would hurt so bad to know that the prosecutor and the judge, now the former judge overturned Gerald's conviction because he went through the papers. He listened to the surgeon that did Gerald's surgery, and he was able to prove that Gerald's leg was broke twice. He showed us on the tape that he brought with us the first time of the breakage and the second time of the breakage. But after this judge, Judge Gaynor, rendered his decision on the 21st of December 2018, he stated that what he had seen, what he had read, this man's conviction was overturned. And the only thing that the prosecutor could do is ask for a new trial. But at the end of December, Judge Gaynor retired, and the case was turned over to Judge Henley. Henley was a horrible judge. I wouldn't want nobody to go before that man. He's prejudiced, and he has shown in that courtroom just how prejudiced he is.
Now,
When he
Amanda,
got,
Amanda,
I'm sorry. I'm
I wanna
sorry.
Stop you right there. I
Okay.
know where I left. I already know where I left Carolyn at. Now, I want to bring into this conversation Mary L. and basically ask Mary L the same question. What gave her the strength? And man, I have been watching Mary L for many, many years. What has given her the strength to keep fighting for her son? Welcome, Mary. You're on mute, Mary. You're on mute, Mary. You have to press.
You unmute.
Right, I think her grandson comes in to help her.
I don't know nothing about all this. Yeah. Here I am now. I'm on again. Yeah, now what did you say?
I wanted to know, because I've been seeing you all of my life, and all of my life you've been fighting for your son. What has given you the endurance to keep carrying on?
Oh, well, actually, see, mine was just like when I was growing up as a child. Whenever you saw me fighting, I was really fighting back. I never picked a fight. But I always fought back. And that's what happened. I had no idea what I was going into. I didn't join in to fight because I assumed the justice system was just what it said, justice for all. Thinking that I was American. You know, we didn't have the television. They didn't show us things like Rodney King. So I didn't prepare my children for brutality because I didn't know about that. I had never been to jail, and I didn't know anybody in my family that had been. If they went to jail, they never told us about it. But when I got out there and complained about the police, I thought they would give me an award for telling them what the police had did to my son. Instead of that, I set him up to be targeted. When I went down to 11th Street and filed that complaint, I thought I was going for help. I had no idea that the police could beat you and do any harm to you, and you hadn't did anything wrong. It was accepted in my mind that if you bad, the police will get you. But good people, I thought they were safe. So when I started standing up against the police, I got out there and was too scared to go back in. I didn't go out because I was brave. I was too afraid to stop fighting. My son asked me, he said, Mama, leave the police alone because they're going to get you if you don't shut up. I couldn't talk about my situation because every time I talk about my son, I would start crying. It was too emotional for me. So I just had to pray to God, how can I go about this battle? And Seth Donnelly convinced me to go on death row and visit those guys. And that was a chore for me. I sure didn't know nobody that they say had killed anybody. But when I went on death row, I saw men who had given up. Some of them had told their family members, don't visit. It was too painful to be unaware, to be aware that it was like nothing you could do. They would just go through the steps. They had all had attorneys, but eventually you would be executed if you were sentenced to death. And when I started talking to those young people on death row, they told things that were so similar to what happened to me. If it had not happened to me like that, I wouldn't have thought that nobody would do nothing like they was telling me. They say I signed the confession because they said they was gonna go and get my mother. They was gonna mess with my wife and my children. So I just signed. Now, I wouldn't have believed the police would do nothing like that if it hadn't happened to me. So I went out and started going into universities, to churches, schools, and talking about these situations. I started going, picking up the mothers and the family members to bring them out to visit their children, to tell them how important it was for them to talk about what was happening. Because I say all these people in here, all of my children, they belong to somebody, but people were afraid to talk about it. And the ones who weren't afraid, they were so ashamed for their neighbors to know that their children were in jail. They tried to keep it a secret. I got with the campaign against the death penalty. I joined them. I would go down to the group called News and Letters. I joined them. I go to the group called the Militants. I'd go to all the groups. Prison Action Committee, I was with Jim Chapman on that group. I tried to get them to go to death row. They said, well, mine is not on death row. I said, but we all just start fighting, we can get something. We got to fight for all of these people. And when we bring our problems and put them together, that's how we form groups. So I end up talking to keep from crying. And when I knew anything, those guys on death row was getting people to do things for them. And the group went in there and formed the Death Row 10. So I was very popular. I got so many pieces of material at different universities I was invited to. I was going out in Evanston. I went to Skokie, and I used to bring my Caucasian friends with me. I said, now look, if this crowd start booing me, y'all jump up and start protecting me, because I'm going out here talking to all white people. I said, we need everybody in this battle. So I still haven't got my son out. And I found out something in this journey. I say, I thought for a while God was picking on me, but he wasn't picking on me, he picked me. He said, I know if I get yours, you're gonna fight. And if you fight for yours, you'll see the need to fight for the others. So I say, we all God's children. We all God's children. Don't just get yours. Come and get mine too. And if people would understand, I guess I'm more sensitive to that because I am a child that grew up without my mother. I don't have any sisters or brothers. I'm an only child. So people are important to me.
Yes.
We got to understand that what you do to the least of us, eventually it will move over to the rest of us. So I just keep on fighting. That's all I can say.
Let me stop you right there, Marielle. I ain't forgot it. I'm just trying to work with an agenda so I can turn it over to Alice, and then it's on Alice.
All right.
Rosemary Cage. Oh my gosh. I remember around the time when I had met Rosemary, and Rosemary was standing outside of the criminal court building. And I began to learn about her son, Antonio Porter. And then I started to read a little bit about his situation. And I really thought approximately 2 or 3 years ago that he would really receive some relief. But when I found out who the judge was, I said, uh-oh, he's in front of a tough judge. Rosemary, what gives you the endurance to keep fighting in the face of racism?
You know what gave me the strength to keep fighting, Mark, with all the health issues that I have going in my body? My son is innocent, and I want to see him come home before, anything happens. And with that judge, what he did to my son, that really hurted me that day. I broke down in tears when I got in the car, because I felt that he didn't read none of that. He didn't read none of my son's, his hearing case. He didn't. I don't think he read anything, because he kept continuing the case. He kept saying, "I'm almost done reading." Then he'll come back and say, "Well, I didn't get a chance to read it." And I'm like, oh my goodness. And when you told me about that judge, and Denise told me, Spencer told me about him, that's who her son had, and he denied everything that she went through with her son. And racism is not only in white, it's in all color. And I feel that if we don't stick together, Black and brown people, and go out and do what we can do for our kids, our sons and daughters, to get them out of prison, the justice system is really, it's weighing to one side. It's not equal. And I just want justice for my son, and I want to see him come home, as a lot of these guys getting out. And I wanted that day what Amanda had. I want that so bad for my son as well. So I'm just still praying and still going on. Tomorrow I got to leave to go to Milwaukee to get on the list for a kidney. My kidney is only working 15%. So just praying and hoping that everything go well for me, and that I would get a kidney donated to me, so I, be here for my son and keep fighting for him. Yeah, so that's pretty much.
Well, if I can give you a kidney, I'll give you my kidney.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my blood type is O, and it's very difficult to find and to get. But I have a better chance in Milwaukee than I do here in Chicago. Yes.
And we will be praying for you, Rosemary. Man, I've felt so much tragedy since being released, and so much hurt since being released. Man, I feel like I was released to go to people's funerals, believe it or not. And that's how I believe you.
I believe you.
Yes. And to my soul sister, Miss Regina. And I started to learn of Regina's son also approximately 3 years ago. And to watch her struggles with a judge to deny her son relief. This stuff it's heartfelt, and it's no other way, it's heartfelt. But Regina, what gives you the strength to carry on? And I know you've been sick, and you've been still pumping out as much power and energy and love as you can. What gives you the strength to carry on for your son, Regina?
That's really, really, it's very hurtful. Listening to all the other ladies, happy Mother's Day, ladies. Thank you, Mark and the Justice Centers for inviting me. I've, I've, I was in silence for like 17 years about my son. My family members knew, a few friends, but I held it in silence. I heard Armanda Shackelford speak one day, and a light bulb just went off in me because she was telling my story, which is her story. So after that, I got to Chicago Alliance, and I was welcomed with so much love and so much energy. They keep me propped up because I'm not only fighting now for my son, I'm fighting for somebody else's loved ones, their sons or their daughters. So that keeps me going. Right now, I'm fighting T-cell cancer, lymphoma. I promised him that I would stay here and fight until he gets home. He always say, no, you're gonna stay forever. I'm like, I don't know, whatever the master says. I say, but I'm hoping that he lets me stay to keep fighting until you walk out them doors. So I have a group of wonderful, wonderful mothers. If I don't fight, then who will? I was spending money on all these attorneys thinking the justice system is just for us. It doesn't protect us, it protects them. So I have to fight. Now that I know that I have resources, I never knew I had resources before. If I knew I had all these resources, we could have been fighting a long time ago. Now it's 20 years has went by. He's 40 years old now. His whole life has passed him by. So I have to keep fighting. I fight when I don't want to fight because I have to. Like I get up to go to work and I don't want to, but I know I have to do it because nobody else is going to do it for him. Jesus.
Well, Regina, I love you. I love all of you mothers on this panel. And the reason I stopped the 3 a little bit early was to explain to them we're still fighting. And still fighting, you know, Marcus is home, Gerald is home, but guess what? Michael ain't home. It's still a fight. And we gotta keep doing what we can do. Before I pass this over to Alice, I just want to acknowledge, and the sister knows who I'm talking about, you know, this may not be her name, but it is right now. And Danette and Jeanette. And this is our way of communicating. You know, this is a sister that is hurting too. And just watching little mothers and their fight, my echo to those brothers that's still locked up and the ones out here, none of us would be anywhere if we didn't have our mothers. So at least God has blessed me with the opportunity for 11 years plus, other than last year. I always try to acknowledge the mothers because I realized who was on the battlefield for me. So I'm gonna pass this over to Alice, but once again, I love you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I want to ask the moms to talk about a very specific thing that you all have been doing for one another over all of these years, and that's courtroom support, right? I think that when I first got active many years ago, that was the one tangible thing I feel like we all felt like we could do, right? Is show up in court for one another. And it's such a frustrating experience. I think Armanda talked about it. how she would go to court, we'd all show up, and then in 2 minutes, right, it's continued until the next time, right? The wheels of justice. I mean, that's how I learned firsthand how slowly those so-called wheels of justice turn. Here is a shot of Armanda at the courthouse, right? Free Gerald Reed, right? And there were so many times where folks, activists, and all the moms showed up for Armanda. And I know that there's a network. So when one person has a court date, you all get in touch with each other and you show up as much as possible to these court dates. So I want to ask you about that. And I'm so moved by what Mama Regina said about being inspired by Armanda Shackelford to also speak up and become part of the organizing. And I think that that's what's happened all along. I remember Luva Bell, Ronald Kitchen's mom, talking about how, you know, when she first got active, you know, she felt a lot of shame, right? It was hard to talk about, you know, having a son on death row. I remember Gloria Johnson saying that she and Aaron Patterson's mom, they used to work in the same AT&T building for many, many years, and they would go out for smoke breaks together. So they saw each other. And it wasn't until the mom started organizing together that they both realized that each one of them had sons on death row, right? So it's so important, the community that has been built up. So I want to ask the moms about courtroom support. Why do you show up for one another? Why is it important to show up for one another? What kind of messages do you think it's sending the judge? And what are you asking others to do to continue to support those inside? So I'll start with Armanda.
Y'all excuse me because a train is passing my house, but it would be so encouraging when I look up and see people there. And I knew that the judge didn't like that. He didn't like the support that we give each other, because the statements that Judge Henley has stated, like one day he stated that he wanted to split up the two cases, Gerald's case and the Hernandez brothers. They had been having the same court date for the longest. Ever since right after Gerald's evidentiary hearing, they started having the court dates on the same day. So after Judge Gaynor left and Judge Henley took over, he showed us what he thought about being fair, being concerned, being caring. He split those two cases up. And that didn't hurt us, because we were still coming to each one's court date. If the Hernandez brothers was at a day, as long as I'm feeling good, I was there. And they did the same thing to support me. Rosemary's son, I wasn't able to be to everyone. Regina's son, I tried to be to any one of their court dates that I could make it. But you know what? It's so nice to show support for each other, because just you being there, you don't have to say anything. Just your appearance being there is so great. And the judges don't like it. And if it's a special prosecutor, he don't like it either, because he don't want nobody to be, he don't want the mama to be there. And I love you all.
Thanks so much, Armanda. Marielle, could I take it over to you and ask you also, Marielle, you know, every time I'm showing up in court, Marielle Johnson is there. So she is driving over to 26th and Cal, and she continues to support all the other their moms. And it's just been so meaningful. It's I feel like this is where we get to see one another as well. And all of the protests, the various protests that sorry, I'm trying to look for this photo of Marielle that I have that I want to share with all of you. But Marielle is there, and here she is. Here's Marielle over at City Hall. When we were fighting for reparations, Marielle was there at City Hall. When we're going to court, Marielle is there. So can you talk about the importance of coming together and showing up for one another, Marielle? Oh, you're on mute. We need to get you unmuted. There, oh, you almost had it. You almost have it. Yeah, just a few times you've gone off mute. There you go.
Yeah, there I got it now. Yes, that was something that I experienced. You know, when I went to court, I couldn't even get no relatives to go with me. They were so scared of being. This is not new for Black people. They knew about things that they didn't even share with us. So I had no idea how afraid they was until I got out there myself. And I knew how important it was to have someone with you, because I was in court by myself, except for my son's friends, and his father was living in. He came, even though he was ill, he sat there during the trial. It's just lonely. And I know that support means so much. You just feel so good to see someone around you. That's why the campaign against the death penalty and the coalition against the death penalty. So everywhere I could go to meetings, I would always tell them about being present for the people. And I tell people, you don't have to go for somebody in your family. Go see what they're doing to other people's family. That's one thing that make us so ignorant to what goes on in the court till we wait till it happens to us before we go. But if you just spend some time, you'll see this is happening every day. And you won't feel alone because you see it's happening over and over. They don't expect us to stick together. So the crowds they seeing now, oh, I feel so good. I wish I could get these old legs so I could walk out there with them young people, because they doing what I've been trying to get for a long time. When I went visiting on death row, it wasn't no easy walk going from cell to cell, but it was needed, it was necessary. So that's where it is. When you have people in your corner, people respect you. When you out there by yourself, they figure if nobody with you, that probably nobody cares. So I just love it. And I tell them, keep it up. You don't have to know the people that well. Go with them. We shouldn't be ashamed to tell people we hurting, but that's what happened. We be so ashamed. We don't want nobody to know about it. We don't want our sister to know. We don't want our cousin to know. I told him, I said, it's one thing about the life of Jesus. Everybody he had helped stood around, but Mary was there crying. So I say, they could depend on that. If ain't nobody there but the mother, you have somebody there. But if you got a love in your heart, you can feel for that mother and you can be there to cry with her. It's just important. That's all I can say. Dr. King said that, let me tell you this. Dr. King said that when he came here, He said that's one thing about the young people. They might be headed in the wrong direction, but they had something that the older ones didn't have. At least they was together. That's why they call them gang bangers. They was banging with somebody. So that's what I think is wonderful. When they see them crowds coming in, that means a whole lot. And them young people feel better too when they on trial and they look out there and see us sitting in the audience, you know. So that's it. That's the key. Stick together.
That's right. Thanks so much, Marielle. Thanks for that. I want to kick it over to Carolyn Johnson now. You know, Carolyn Johnson earlier talked about how Bertha Escamilla called her up, and that's when she first got involved. And Marcus Wiggins, her son, was telling her, you got to make a big sign. And so here she is with that big sign that she made of Marcus, along with Daryl Cannon. And here is Carolyn with Bertha Escamilla, who's always calling everybody, right, to get people moving and get people to show up for one another. So Carolyn, I want to ask you a little bit about Marcus has been home, and we know that it's a journey, right, and that people continue to need support. I mean, Marcus was tortured when he was 13 years old. I think that he had mentioned that he's in Texas right now visiting some family, right? But can you tell us what kind of support do we need to continue to show our loved ones after they get out?
It's important to show that that you're still here fighting with him and for him and fighting for others, because he's still willing to fight for others. He after learning what he went through, which he knew what he was going through before I knew, and put the papers together and kept reading and reading. And because he still has trauma, he wakes up in sweats. My daughter told me how he wakes up and he wake up crying. Excuse me. And he woke up one time in trauma and saying that he wanted his mom. So Talitha, his sister, called and said, Mama, Marcus needs you. So I got in my car and I drove out. But the love that Mark, Clements, and all of you all reaching out, and it takes a village to raise and to help, because I felt alone for a long time. And that was because I was afraid, because I wasn't afraid to, I was afraid for my family after the way they was threatening, kept going to my mom's house, threatening her and my brother. My brother wound up dying of cancer. And my mother, we moved her out of the city, out of the state. And so just being there with him and for him and to help him get through it. But now that he has a job and he is really, he is overwhelmed. He loves that he has a job, because that helps him in the counseling that he's getting with the psychiatrist and the counselor. So he's doing much better now that he has a job, because that's something that he's looking forward to. He get up to go to work. He is so happy, and it's good. And Mark stay in touch with him and his attorney. And I call him on a regular basis. And I don't tell people where he at. We don't tell people where he at, because the officer's still out there, and like fighting together, us mothers going to court, being together. I was always going to court, being together. I was getting tickets. I got tired of getting all them darn tickets and had to pay for them, didn't have nowhere to park. But I didn't even care about the tickets at first. All I wanted to do was get in that courtroom and show my presence to fight for the other parents of the other kids and with their mother and their family members, showing that somebody else do care. And that makes a difference. When I saw a lot of people out there when Marcus was going to court, and I felt blessed. I felt so blessed that I was enjoying getting up, going to fight, because my mama raised a fighter, and I fight to the end. I mean, when I know it's right, I'm gonna fight. When you know it's right, you fight for what's right, and you gonna win, especially when you believe in God. I didn't know God, so at the time when it happened, I didn't know what to do, but I learned him in this struggle. And like I said, when I hit rock bottom, That was God getting my attention. Because a lot of times he was showing me stuff and I wouldn't pay attention. But when this went to Marcus, it got me to know who God is. It got me to start forgiving people. I was doing so much stuff because of what happened to Marcus. Those detectives made me so angry that I was having them nightmares about them. I kept, every time I get up, I started fussing at people, everybody. I was mean and grumpy. I kept my family away because after learning that they did this to you, and then when they did that to Sean and them, and I got the paperwork and I read it and I said, oh my God, if they can set your child up like that. Marcus wasn't a child that was out in the streets, and you don't have to be. You can be an innocent person, and these people will come and just mess with you because you're Black, because they are racist. And that's how they've been getting along with this for so long and covering it up because of who they are, their badge. And I feel the gangbangers are the police are the gangbangers. They the one hold the silence, the code of silence, and then they get mad when the gangbangers don't want to tell on nobody else. But then why tell y'all? Why tell y'all when all y'all gonna do is go kill them and get away with them, or go lock them up and get away with them? So I feel that they are above the law, but God got a plan and he showed it to me, and it's gonna come to pass. And so, Alice, just for listening to you guys and learning you, I learned you. Met you at Push one time and at the Alliance meeting. You know, just going to those meetings is a lot. It meant a lot to me. And it taught me a lot. It even taught my baby. My baby was 3, 4, 5 years old. And she said she was tired of protesting. Her feet was hurting. She said, please take me next door, mama. She said, I'm tired of protesting. I'm tired of holding up pictures. My brother still ain't at home. And Bertha fell out. I died laughing, but I ain't never known a 3-year-old child could say something like that and know what was going on. And so I had to take her next door because she said her feet was hurting because she was tired of protesting for her brother that ain't made it home yet. But God has showed me the path, and he showed me the light at the end of the tunnel. The only thing he wanted me to do, he said, peace, be still. He said, when you give it to me, stop taking it back, because I kept giving it to him, and then I take it back. So I stopped. And when I stopped taking it back, everything started moving. Everything. Black Lives Matter. Everything. Gerald, that baby, Gerald, come home. My baby came home. It's so many. And then when other people start seeing what they did to Sean and how they did Marcus, which I saw it, but it was hard for me to get it out there because, as some people say, I was aggressive, and I maybe was being aggressive because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to speak. I didn't know what to say was right and what to say wrong. And it's not the alderman's fault because it is it's the system, because even though they was trying to fight for us, they couldn't get nowhere because the system was so tore up that you gotta dig deeper in order to get it right. Because I thought nobody didn't care. I thought that nobody cared about us. I thought couldn't nobody do nothing because everybody was scared, which everybody was scared. But like a lot of people say, you got to get through the root. You got to get down and dig up the root to get this right, because the system is so messed up. And I didn't understand it, and I didn't know no better. I didn't know no better at all. And like I said a long time ago, everything that I've said that was hurtful, that wasn't of God, I apologize to anybody that I felt that threatened them or felt threatened to because of the way I was talking. But my mind was gone. I was trying to save my insanity, and getting counsel did it. I was wanted to go to the torture center, but I started going to the hospital and started getting it. But I would love to start going to the torture center to help build it and to help get it, because all you mothers, all the mothers, daughters, sisters, all y'all don't know that you don't, the ones that don't know, if you in this, you need counseling. You need counseling, because if you don't get it, I can speak for me. I went through HELL and back. I was diagnosed with lupus, cancer. I couldn't talk at times. I lost my breath. I was having heart pains, and it was stressing because I'm living around all these people that's supposed to be protecting us, supposed to be saving us. And all the time I was running to the wrong people, and it was hurting and it was killing me. But God kept me, and he helped me to stand and helped me to fight, and not just for Marcus, but for other mothers. So I loved going to court supporting, and I felt darn good. And now I feel even better because the fight is long, and I know it's still a long fight, But from where I came from a long time ago, when he was not in 91, we've gotten a long way. So I know it is a God. And I know you, us mothers, all you mothers, we gonna see, we gonna get justice. It just take time. Don't give up, because I didn't give up, and I'm still standing here. I was in the crate, what you call it? I keep saying the 5th floor, but mentally, I was going there. I had got there, but God saved me and He kept me, and I'm still here, ready to fight, and I want to keep on fighting. And so, mothers, don't give up. We got to keep fighting for our kids and our loved ones and others.
Thanks so much, Carolyn. We're so grateful that you're still here with us and that you're still fighting. Okay, you talked about the Chicago Torture Justice Center and needing support for the trauma that you've experienced. And I know that the Chicago Torture Justice Center has been a place for when our loved ones come home, right? Having the Chicago Torture Justice Center and having Mark and others, leading the way. Greg Banks is on this Zoom with us. Leading the way at the Chicago Torture Justice Center has been so critical. So Regina, you sent me this photo, and I think this is at the Chicago Torture Justice Center. Can you say a word? No, it's not there?
No, we were at a restaurant. Mark took us out for Mother's Day.
Okay. Well, I thought you said that it was at the Chicago Torture Justice Center. Regardless, I wanted to ask you about the role that CTJC has played in building community for you and the other mothers. So if you could say a word about that.
How they have the Chicago Torture Center and the Chicago Alliance. I used to go to court by myself. It started off, with, other family members and a few friends. And as time kept going on, everybody started dwindling off. So until it was just me. When I got involved with the Alliance and the Justice Center, tomorrow I had a court date. It was 3 rows of people there. That had never happened never. So when the Judge Joyce called his name, everybody stood up, and then Ted and I went in the courtroom, and he was like, I said, Tamon Russell, what they setting up for? The bailiff said they are for Tamon Russell. He was like, oh, well, if I had knew all these people was gonna be here, I would have waited to sign his papers. I'm looking, so it does make a difference when they see a lot of people there. So they do see, now he has some people backing him. So he started being a little nicer, whatever that means. So yeah, I understood that then. It takes more people to be there for them to pay attention. I didn't realize that they really paid attention until that day. There's who's out there. So just their moral support. That's mental, moral. They give us everything that we need to keep us pushed up, because without people in the back holding you up, you would lose it. So I understand what Carolyn is talking about, because I was there. I was just so angry and mad at the system, at people, period, because you think you're doing the right thing and they take that away from you. You are doing the right thing, but they're doing the wrong thing. They think for the right reasons, but it's all wrong. So I finally got a group of people that understood where I was going and what I need, and they're there for me. And we're going to keep on fighting for it. It's a lot more coming, but that's okay. Gerald kicked the dough in. That's all we needed. Gerald done kicked that damn dough in. Now they all coming through. They all coming through now.
That's right. Thanks so much, Regina. I see that Mark Clements put in the chat that y'all were at the White Palace, which was the Cape Crusader for Justice, our Darby Tillis, the late and great Darby Tillis. And that was his organizing space. So you all were at another organizing space that was introduced to many of us through Darby Tillis. Okay, so I want to then take it over to Rosemary Cade. So Rosemary, last Friday, you were out protesting. You were out protesting because We are still facing, a lockdown in Illinois prisons, right? And our
Yes.
loved ones inside have been facing just, they have endured, right? It's been so hard this last year. This last year has been so hard for all of us, really, around the globe. But we know that in our prisons, people are just facing the worst. So you were out protesting. Can you say a word about what's happening, what the conditions are like inside our prisons, why you were protesting and demanding contact visits, and what else we can do to support people as we still continue to make our way past this pandemic?
When we was out last Friday, we was protesting with for Governor Pritzker to demand him to change the system of the prison, because those guys, the medical, my son had blood clots in his lungs, and when I was visiting him, his ankles kept swelling. And I told him, I said, that's not good, something's wrong. And he said that he was given some type of water pill to take, and he kept telling them that it's not working, it's swelling him up. So, and then he got blood clots, and they rushed him over to St. Joe, and they found out he had blood clots in his lungs. So now he's taking this medication to keep the blood clots away. And that's why we was protesting for the medical condition, them being on lockdown so long, not getting enough air, fresh air, or going out. They lock down 23 hours a day, and they only come out maybe to go outside, and then they leave them out there. If it's raining, snow, or sleet, it doesn't matter. They out there in that bad weather. And then the heating situation there, they don't get the proper heat. Or in the summertime, it's so hot up in there that those guys are sweating, literally getting sick and stuff. So that's what we want for the guys that's in prison, some kind of release to help with the situation, with the lockdown, with the medical condition, or contact visit, all that. I haven't seen my son over a year now, a year and some months. And now they got some visit, but you can't touch, or you can't give them no food or anything. It just got some kind of glass up there, or some kind of plexiglass, I think, that you can't barely hear them. I haven't been down there, but I set up visit, and it's hard to get visit because people are trying to get in and get visit. And then you got to bring all this documentation and stuff, and you already in the system. Why is we doing all this? So that's why I say the prison need to be reformed. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Rosemary. All right, Mark, what's next for us?
Well, one thing I will say is, from the prisons to the streets, we have seen Marielle in both roles. We have seen Marielle walking those galleries and talking to those guys and just trying to bring encouragement inside of a zone where there's little to no encouragement. Explain, Marielle, briefly, encounter you have had with maybe inmates while visiting them on death row. Uh-oh, you on mute, Marielle. Okay, you got to hit the little red one. It should be a little dot that pops up. Okay. Okay. Hit it. It's like it's trying to come off, but it's not. Okay, now you off.
Oh boy. Okay, you said with the guys, you know, I started visiting them because I didn't know what to do with myself. I was in so much pain over my son till I just said, what can I do? And when I went and found out, they were so glad to see me because most of the people on the coalition are not people of color. I was a rare one. We had another Black lady going, but she would only go to Pontiac, but I went to Pontiac and Menard. And those guys were so glad to see me till I went that first time, and then I couldn't stop because I found out that I played an important role with them. They felt comfortable with me. Actually, they say, we just be nice to them, people on the coalition, say, but we don't even be bothered with no more white folks. Say, that's who put us here. The judge was white, the prosecutor was white, defense attorney is white. So they was just glad to see me. So I felt obligated to keep going. It was not easy. You deal with different personalities. And I would respect the fact that when I was visiting them in those cells, that was their house and I respected it. Sometimes they would be asleep. They didn't want to talk. I wouldn't try to talk to them anyway. I wouldn't go there trying to tell them what to do. I just made them feel comfortable. I had some of them that I'd visit. I'd go to their cell. They'd be ready for me. So we'd sing a song together. They would tell me, oh, they had me going to different neighborhoods that I had never been in to tell this girl to bring his baby to see him. And I'd go and talk to the mothers. So many of them would tell me different things. Well, my mother, the reason why she don't come is because she getting old now. And I wanted to say to them, what did you think I'm getting? You know, I'm already old. So I convinced their parents to come, people that didn't want to go because they felt they couldn't do nothing. I say, you do something when you see them, just it inspires them to know that you love them. So I would encourage them to go. And then I would go to their church and talk to the congregation. I said, we shouldn't be sitting in church ashamed to tell them that our child is in jail. But so many people, that's what they shame of it. And I was shamed too. I was keeping mine quiet too. When I realized what was really happening, I didn't get out and broadcast that my son was in jail, but I told him, it ain't wrong to love nobody. You don't have to, if they did it, you don't have to condone what they did, but you sure don't have to stop loving them because they're yours. So it's an experience that I wouldn't give that up for nothing because I learned so much. And say, how do you talk to an inmate when you go to visit them in jail at their cell? Like a person, because that's what it is. It's another human being. Many of them in there didn't do anything. They in there because of who they was born as, a Black man. And that's so sad. But once we come together, I told them, I said, look, you got to turn this thing around. We got to use something on them that they're not ready for. Anything you plan to do, they already prepared to deal with it. I said, but you got one thing they can't handle when you come with God in you, that's love. They don't know what to do when you love them in spite of themselves. And before we stopped visiting like we were, we had some of those sergeants coming out there and holding hands with us while we prayed. It was getting just that good. And a lot of them would come up to me when I would go out there. They say, keep the good work up. You're doing a good job. They were encouraging when they saw that we cared about them, and those guys start getting along with each other. And whenever I'd come on the gallery, they would tell them, Ma Johnson's in the house. Whatever they was cussing and going on, they'd stop it. And those coalition members, they saw how much respect those guys had for me. So one time they had made the rules where they wasn't gonna let anyone who had any family member come in the penitentiary like that. I got the letter now. They wrote a special letter for me to let me come on and visit in spite of the fact that I had a son who was in there. That's something they didn't do. But they opened that door for me. And I
You're
went
right.
in and I didn't miss.
And you're
That's
right,
what we do.
Marielle. You
What?
know, you was a warrior and still is.
Yeah,
And
well, I went in tough, but I was scared.
well, the bottom line of it is that you went. You didn't dodge your calling. You
No,
still went.
they didn't see that fear. I mean, I was afraid in the beginning because I didn't know what I was going to run into. I had never been in jail or anything. But when you face people with love, they have to back up off you. That's for sure.
Yes, yes. And Amanda, I want to ask you quickly, what makes you smile today?
Well, I have a smile on my face because, first of all, I'm here with all of you mothers that has been struggling for years. And I'm also smiling because my son, Gerald Reed, is home. But the fight is still on. It's not over because he's still guilty as far as they are concerned. Now, the fight is we got to be able to prove that he's not guilty. But I just love you all so much. The encouragement that you all have given me and the hope that you all have given me. I can't give up. I can't give up because we don't come too far. And we came this far together. We are not alone. And that makes you feel so good. And that just can't do nothing but put a smile on my face. I just love you, Mark. You are such a sweetheart. And one day God is going to have something for you. He got something for you.
I think if I never see anything else in this life, he's already blessed me already with having the opportunity to be in your midst. You know, it's not like I did not have to go through a journey. I had to go through a mighty journey in this life. And the bottom line of it is I'm just happy to be amongst you. And like I tell people all the time, I can't be someone else, but I can be myself. And I may not make everyone smile, but I will do my best to be fair. And that's all that I can do as a human being. But one thing I do know is that the criminal justice system is very, very racist. These people don't care. I watched my mother, like most of these men watched their mothers, and they were young women, and they watched them as they aged. It's vice versa. The mothers watched their children as they age behind these messed up prison walls. And then you have to come back to this society and deal with stuff that is set up in layers to make sure that you fail. And moving right along, Carolyn, that same question, what makes you smile?
First of all, I smile because, and what makes me smile is that I wake up, God give me the breath to breathe another day and to help my kids and to help others, and that I'm still here, and especially smiling because the sheet is pulled off of them and they've been exposed. And it's time that this system, the racist system and the systematic system is going to come to an end. I didn't think I would live to see the day that it would, but God blessed me and have me the honor to sit here this day on this panel with you guys as a mother to continue this fight and to continue to help, because I had got sick and all out my brains till I had stopped coming around, you know. But God, I still got that fighting energy in me, and I'm gonna keep fighting and helping fight this fight until the Lord take the breath out of my mouth. And to see my son get his certificate of actual innocence, and yours, Gerald Reed, and everybody else's that we're fighting for.
And, I want to give a quick shout out to Aislinn and Cindy, who are the co-directors over at the Chicago Torture Justice Center. I want to send a shout out to Brother Greg, Brother Jamon, and to Brother Carl, as well as Brother Damon and the whole little crew over at the Chicago Torture Justice Center. I know that a lot of you don't understand the work that we do, but it's very stressful. It's very complex to describe it, but we are here, we're fighting, and we're doing our best, believe it or not. Regina, I would hate to run into you in a dark alley, woman. What makes you smile, Regina?
That I know that I have another day to fight for him and to fight for everybody else's child. That's what makes me smile.
Quick, brief, but to the point. Rosemary, what makes you smile? And
what makes me smile is you guys. You all is fighting for us. You get out there, Mark, you do it all. You get out there cold, it be cold out. I have seen you out there standing in the middle of the street by yourself, fighting for us, for our sons. And that's what makes me smile, that someone else is care. Someone else care about our sons, our kids. And that's the whole point of it. And that's why we need you. So we want you to get plenty of rest, because we still got to fight. We still got a long way to go.
Well, before I turn it over to Alice for Q&A, I just want you all to know, man, I already know what you're going through. And I often tell you that all the time. The bottom line of it is, if I was the governor, hell, I'll just let them all go.
I know you would.
So the thing about it is, this is a fight that we dealing with, and I think that we can make the fight a little bit more strenuous if we stick together in unity. And me and Denise talked yesterday a little bit about some of the things that, we really need to change. And there's all races and there's all people that are plagued with wrongful convictions. So me personally, if I had a hat on right now, I would take it off and sling it like Michael Jackson. I'll take my hat off to each and every one of you for, man, fighting like dirty dogs, man, at the right sources, which is the criminal justice system. Thank you. I pass it over to you, Alice. And Christina, I love you. I see that message.
Thanks so much, Mark, for all of that. There's just so much love on this Zoom. I don't think we actually have time for Q&A because we're at time right now, but I wanted to show a little bit of love to the other moms who are on this Zoom with us right now, and just say a small acknowledgement, a word about each one of them. Who I see on here. Christina Borisov, we love you. We know that you're fighting for Johnny and that he's struggling inside, and we're thinking of him and we love you. Antoinette, our heart goes out to you. Thank you for bringing Archie into our lives and letting us know him and his love through you. We love you. Esther, we know that torture did not begin or end with John Burge, and you have been one of the moms who have been fighting against Guevara, and with all of the other moms, and for your sons, and in the early days of the Comité Exigimos Justicia, we love you, and we're so proud of all that you have been doing. Bertha, here you are, another mom from the early days of the Comité Exigimos Justicia. We love you. Thank you for always being there. You know, even after your son got out, you have been right there with us, right at center of this movement. Denise, what an awesome photo. Isn't that awesome? Denise is fighting for her son, Matthew Echeverra, and actually has, she and her family have been organizing protests for Matthew, and they have actually turned these protests for Matthew into protests to free them all. If Denise, if you could please share the information for the protest that's coming up next weekend in the chat with everyone, that would be amazing. And we have Gregory Banks here with us. And actually, Gregory, I think I might be putting you on the spot a little bit, but if you're still on the Zoom with us, I know that you were at a press conference last week for the Chicago Torture Justice Memorials. I want to give a shout out to all the comrades in the Chicago Torture Justice Memorials. You know, we are fighting for a memorial, the permanent memorial that was part of the reparations package, right? And we are still fighting to get an agreement from the city and from our mayor to build this memorial. We have a beautiful structure that was designed by Patricia Wynn and John Lee, and the survivors have been fighting for this. So maybe Greg, you can have the last word because our next event on Wednesday is about the memorial. And so Greg, I just want to invite you to have the last word about this, the importance of the memorial.
Yes. Well, just let me say this too. Happy belated Mother's Day. Wait.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, happy belated Mother's Day. And I just want to say to y'all, man, y'all been in this fight. Y'all been behind. Y'all been with us. Y'all been on our side from the beginning. And just like Mark said, if it had not been for our mothers, ain't no telling what would have happened. And from that, I'm gonna say this about the memorial. We need that memorial. That memorial will show this city that the injustices that this city has been a part of for many years. And we have to show that needs to be seen and it needs to be known. So I say to all of you, every last one of you, keep on fighting. Keep on fighting, because the fight ain't never go. It's still here. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Greg, for that. I will put the information in the chat about next Wednesday's event. Love you, Greg. Good to see you. Mark is informing me that we actually have 30 left.
Alice?
Yes.
This is Amanda.
Yeah.
I just want to mention Jeanette Plummer.
Yes.
She's not able to get around anymore. I just wanted to meet her also. Thank you.
Another one of the bulldogs. Yes, I miss her. And Alice, maybe we could take a question or two from the audience and see if there's any questions. I think Gina was handling that aspect. Can someone shoot through a question and I'll somewhat bring it to the panel and we can get it answered?
For anyone who's watching the live stream, yes, please do ask any questions if you have them, and Gina will make sure they come to us. I also want to invite at this time then, you know, the other moms who are on this Zoom with us, if you want to say a quick word, this is the time to do it.
Come on, Esther. Cut it out.
Why did I know you were going to choose me, Mark Clements?
So, because I could see your sandy, nice gold hair.
Oh, yes. So, first of all, thank you all. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Belated Mother's Day. Also, thank you for the delicious food that you guys sent over. The dinner was so good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I was going to tell you, I do have, when you talk about why was it important to be in the courtrooms, I believe that's very important to support each other at the courtrooms. I remember once I went to one of the guys, one of the Guevara's victims court, and the judge, when he saw the crowd, he got up and he said, wow, are you all here for the same person? And yeah, because everybody else had the court already been called and we were there, and he was actually surprised to see that. And so I believe that, yes, it's very important. That's why I try to support, whenever I can, I try to support, be there at court. And it's very important to be out there and to rally for this innocent man in there. I have my 2 sons in there. I'm kind of heartbroken right now. I mean, if you don't mind, but we're doing a clemency for my sons, because one of my sons, Rosendo, he has a heart disease. Well, he had 2 strokes, 2 heart attacks, actually. The first one, we never knew about it. It was a Menards. And when in 2016, he had his second at Dixon. When they took him to the hospital and they did the test, the doctor said, did you know you had a heart attack like 5 years ago? And my son said, well, I had the pain. They took me in a wheelchair. I could move my arm. My chest was hurting. I was up all night standing holding to the bars because I couldn't lay down with the pain. And they did an EKG and they said that it was normal. And then they said that he had an anxiety attack, not a heart attack, right? So that messed up my son's, there was a part of his heart is actually dead. And then they had to put stents in his heart, 2 of them, because they could not go in to open up that one, right? That already that was clogged, they couldn't open it. So my son asked him, well, so what is going to happen? They go, well, we're just going to continue to, look at it. We're going to treat you and see, but there's nothing that we could do. But, by the grace of God, I believe in God and I have faith. And when my son told me that the doctor said, it must have been a miracle because a vein grew around your heart, and that's how your blood is pumping to your heart. And I said, oh my God, thank you, God, And so, he's been going to treatments like every year, whatever. But little did I know, when we just put this clemency in the 24th of this month, now I got a new lawyer, which is Josh Taffer, because Tara was my son's lawyer. She's no longer with us. And so he said, I said, oh, he called my son. And then my son told me about it. And so I texted the lawyer and I said, oh, so you guys had a nice legal call. He said, yeah, what did he tell you? And I said, well, yeah, that is looking good. And he talked about his health issue. He goes, he did? What did he tell you? Because my son told him, I tell my mom everything. I said, yeah, they tell me everything, But he goes, oh, okay, good, because I don't like to, at first I like to talk to my clients and then whatever. But when he said, I'm going to send you a copy of the clemency, he sent it to me. And when I started reading, I read it, and I think it was God that I skipped part of it. He said that, yeah, his condition, he will get the coronavirus, he would die, or even without the coronavirus, because he's got this disease, his heart, And so, and I didn't see nothing else. But then my daughter came in and my other son called and she was reading it to him. And then when she go to the part where he says, this is so serious that he might have no more than 3 years or 5 of life. So I was like, what? I was in shock. I said, how could this be, And so I texted the lawyer and I said, I'm in shock because I really didn't realize this. I guess my son didn't even know all that, because when I'm reading the report, the doctor is saying, I'm sorry that you will have to be the ones to let the patient know This is a sad thing. But then again, because this is from before, and like I said, I believe God healed him, and I still believe that. I've been strong because I feel that, he's healed, but to read something like that on paper, it breaks your heart. And then you're like, and why are they still in there? They're innocent. Why is Kim Fox still fighting this case? Why is she defending this corrupt cop? While children are in there. So, I just had to share that with you because I feel like, it just broke me to hear that. And, I talk to my son every day and he sounds good and everything. That's why I believe, and I don't want to doubt God that he is healed. But the negligence of these people, what they have done to our loved ones in there, because of that, if they would have figured out that he did have a heart attack and they would have put him on treatment, taking the medication, right? Cholesterol, whatever, maybe he would be, he didn't have to have a second heart attack. And then his heart damaged. Part of his heart is dead, So I just needed to share that because I do want to, this is what makes me like fight even more. And I am going to keep fighting, not only for my sons, I will continue to fight for all of them, but now I'm on the road to do something, I want to do something. I want to reach out to the governor. I want to, I'm going to actually, I talked to Christy from the Alliance and I didn't tell her the whole story. She don't even know about this. This is before, because I told her they did the clemency and she said, we could do like we did with Gerald Reed, we could start doing a schedule to call, and email the governor. So that's my next step. That's what I want to do next. But thank you. Sorry I took so much time.
No problem. But one thing I do want to do, and this program won't be complete unless we do this, Galaxy S10 lady over here, and I call her Ann Jeanette, but I know her name is something totally different. And one day before I croak, maybe I'll get her name right. But I know that she has had to endure another form of torture, and that is losing a child to police violence. And I would just like to just ask her what really makes her smile and to explain just the tip of what happened to Archie. Thank you. You got to come off mute. Look like you ran away.
Hello?
Okay, now
Can you hear me? Hello,
Yes.
everyone. My name is Antoinette, and yes, thank you for the food. Thank you for inviting me on this platform. To all the mothers, I am just so happy that you all still have your children's. And Ms. Shackelford, I was watching Mark's Facebook Live when you embraced your son, and it just brought so many tears up in my soul because I was so overjoyed and happy that you had a chance to hug your baby after 40 years. And it was indeed a blessing. I felt your joy. My son, 9 years ago, he was killed in Calumet City by a Calumet City police officer, and I was served injustice. I went to the depositions and I didn't get any legal justification for anything. The police officer got off. He didn't do any time in jail. They didn't take his badge away from him. It's like my son's life didn't even matter. And it was like when I needed the help, through the legal process, I trusted the lawyer, the justice system to help me, but I don't think they helped me. I think what they did is just shove my baby's case up under the rug to get it out of the eye. out of the media, so no one would know anything about it. And right to this day, no one knows who killed Archie Lee Chambers Jr. The police officer was never identified. I know who killed him because I went to the depositions for my baby, but it's just sad how the justice system is so unfair to our children, our loved ones, and it's like, and you trust them, and injustice is served every day. It's been 9 years for me, and the injustice is still going on. I'm at the point that I do not trust the justice system at all. I am terrified of the police. If a police officer get behind me, I just go into a panic, but I try and stay calm because I don't want to make any sudden moves or anything like that. But it's just so unfair, and it's like, I didn't get justice for my son, but I said, I don't care if I use everything that I have. I am going to participate in these organizations, and I am going to help to fight to bring a change to the justice system because it's not right. I told my lawyer, I said, you know what, this problem is bigger than me. You know, and he just looked at me, and when everything just started unfolding, I was like, it's still coming. It's still coming. And it's like now, it's like one of the other mothers said, they didn't uncover the justice system with they took the sheet off of it. So now everybody sees all the injustice, but still they're not holding these police officers accountable for anything. And it's not fair. It's not fair at all.
Well, I just want you to know that we love you, that we send you strength and love and patience. And lastly, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Alice for these last 10 minutes. I do want to hear this woman who calls herself D Nice, and just hear a few words from her dealing with her struggle with her son, Matthew.
Well, hi, everybody. Hi, mamas. Hi, all the supporters out there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All good. So I, like every one of you, walked the streets of shame, not thinking I was alone, you know, thinking that, you know, when you say you have a child in prison, that shame that came with it, and the way people looked at you and rolled their eyes, you know, the judgment, you know, I didn't know that you guys were out there until about, and I gotta say this, till about maybe 4 years ago, and the name Bertha Escamilla came up, and somebody said, you need to call Bertha. And so I did, but for a long time, you know, I sat in the darkness like you ladies did, you know, and thought that I was alone. My son's name is Matthew Echeverria, and he of course is caught up in the racist judicial system of Central and Grand, you know, being a brown baby. And it's a sad state of mind, but I couldn't do it without you mamas. I couldn't do it without you, Mark and Kim, and I mean, all of you. It's a hard road. It's a road that, you know, I wouldn't wish on anybody, but you really made my Mother's Day. I felt so loved and welcomed. Thank you. And I love all of you.
And thank you. So I'll turn it over to Alice. Thank you, Alice.
Well, you know, I want to ask Bertha if she's still on, if she would say a word. I just texted her.
Oh, I didn't see Bertha.
Bertha, are you on here? Well, I maybe Bertha will be able to get back on. In the meantime, I did want to just, I know that Christina Borzov is still on. We have a few more minutes left. So Christina, can you please say a word too? And Denise, you know, I feel I've gotten to know you, and I've gotten to know your daughter-in-law, Jennifer, and through you and your daughter-in-law, gotten to know Matthew. And oh man, I just feel like those protests that you organize on Harlem and Grand, amazing, right? The billboard that you have up for Matthew, amazing. And we hope that, you know, Matthew will be home with us. Christina, you please say a word for us. Yes. You're on mute. Christina, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Christina Borzov, Johnny Borzov's mom. Denise, I feel your pain and all the other mamas. When my son was incarcerated, I felt embarrassed and people would talk and all that. And I knew my son is wrongfully convicted. And we used all our resources that we had. But eventually, the prosecutors and my son was convicted in DuPage County. It was all on hearsay. It was fabrication and political repression. And so my son is at Statesville, originally at Menards, and he has over 16 underlying conditions, and he's severely ill. The only thing that's keeping him going is God. And I have hit bottom where I didn't want to live. I am in counseling, so I think counseling helps somewhat, but yesterday on Mother's Day, it doesn't get easier. Like my heart was torn, and our whole family, our lives are not the same anymore. And I hope and pray for all of our loved ones that they start coming out. My son's lifespan doesn't look good. The only thing that I hold on to is God. He is on kidney. He's on dialysis, kidney failure 5, and he's had a heart attack. He's had comas. He's hurt himself. Now he's in a wheelchair. He can't walk this long distance. And all I can do is pray. And I thank each and every one of you and this organization, what Mark does, Alice, and everybody else that's connected. Because to win the fight, we have to stand together. And I pray that they all come home so we can hug them. And I thank you for inviting me. And God bless each and every one of you.
Did Bertha ever come back, Alice?
She did not. She has to go pick up her daughter. So I shared with her that we're all lifting her up. And what she said back is, we are all fighters. And I think that is, this whole Zoom is a testament to that. Each and every one of the moms, the survivors who are on the Zoom, fighters, right? And I feel so moved by the community that's represented on this call, and the will to fight, and I think the understanding of the pain that runs throughout, right? But then at the same time, to come together, because we don't want anyone who is experiencing pain to feel alone, right? And I think that that's something that many of the moms have said, and so many of the survivors have said, that what was harder than the injustice itself, right, was feeling alone in it all, right? And so I think that the more that we can build community, that is what is going to help us get through this. And I think hopefully ultimately, win more victories, right? Win more victories. Sometimes it can absolutely feel like one step forward, 2 steps back, right? But I think when we're in it together, we can begin to see, like within our community and the community that's developed, a kind of different future. This is the future that we want. The community that's represented on this Zoom, and the love that's represented on this Zoom. And being there for one another. And so I feel grateful to Mark, and I feel grateful to all the mamas on this call. And you know, we as Bertha Escamilla said, we are all fighters, and we will continue to fight.
Yes. And you know, because I know Rosemary's situation, she explained it. Let's give her some energy as we close this 2021 Mother's Day celebration out. And as she head to Wisconsin in search of a kidney, let's let her know that we love you. And let's go like this. Rosemary, we love you. Come on, say it. We love
you.
Cut your mics on.
We
love
love you,
you.
Rosemary.
We
Love you, Rosemary.
We
love
you.
Rosemary.
We love you.
We
Love
love
you.
you.
We
love
you. That's right.
We
love you.
And
we love you, girl. And you gonna make it. You gonna make
Amen. Thank
We
you all
appreciate
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. I know God is in my prayer, and He's gonna make everything okay, and it's gonna happen.
And we all got to keep
You're
the
in my,
I gotta be here when my son come home.
yeah. You're in my prayers, Rosemary.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. I love you all.
I love you, Baba. I love you all. Thank you.
Well, I'll call you before I go to bed.
Okay. Thank you,
love
Mark.
you. Good night.